Give me a sign! Please! God! Why? Open me. God, why?
Thus saith the Lord, maketh a video, you faggot.
How's it going, Internet? I'm Dredile. We're talking about one of the most famous, most played maps in the game, Counter-Strike. Let's talk about DE Dust 2, how it was created, who made it, and the history of it condensed. Dust 2 was the brainchild of Dave Johnston, the creator of Dust 2. Jesus, my script is fucked. When creating the original Dust, Dave saw images of the early development of Team Fortress 2, which took place in a deserty Middle East climate. He was immediately inspired and told someone else working on the early beta of Counter-Strike to recreate those assets so he could use them to make Dust. Now, the semblance is very odd, and DE Dust went on to become the most popular map for early Counter-Strike. Over the next 2 years, and until 2001, the idea of a sequel to the original Dust map was rolling around through Dave's mind. He knew it wouldn't be easy to make another map that could have the kind of impact Dust had, and he was very pessimistic, figuring Dust 2 would be a total failure. So seeing as how the third installment of most any movie trilogy is typically never as good as the first, he decided to call it Dust 3. With a sensible chuckle, he went off to open Hammer and began to place the framework for one of the most iconic levels in history. First, he had to identify what made a Dust map. Several key factors he settled on was carrying over things like the trim, stone paths, and the arches. The arches are actually a looked-over feature of Dust because without the arches, it really does feel like a completely different map. He was even going to change the time of day over to night at one point, but figured it wouldn't fit the Dust feel, and in fact some elements of Dust were carried straight over to Dust 3. He knew the most vital element of a good map is concise, balanced map layout. Things that made the original Dust so popular are just things you don't think about. The simplicity of it, interesting connectivity, the timing of encounters. The original Dust was very basic in terms of layout. It's essentially two looping boxes, and he carried over that mindset into DE Dust 3. And so with much anticipation and much thought, he sketched up the layout of Dust 3 in several minutes and was off to the races. The first version of Dust 3 was almost an exact replica of the scribble he had written on the paper, but according to him it lacked any character. Originally, Bombsite A was in a narrow cavern with only a few spots for cover, and Bombsite B was relatively similar to how it is today, but without the opening in the wall and back plat. Now, there were minor differences like the gaping corner here and mid to B, but overall the tracks were laid, and eventually those small details were added in, and Dust 3 took shape, much to the anxiety of Mr. Johnston, who figured that such irregularities in the geometry differed too much from Dust's grid-like nature, and seemed a bit too complex. As he neared release, the anticipation grew with Johnston. The Counter-Strike creator, Jess, offering some feedback, wanted Dust 3 to be in the official Counter-Strike rotation, but after having talked to Johnston into changing the name to Dust 2. That was the condition. And then in March 2001 it launched. Just like Dust, Johnston's pessimism mattered little, and the popularity of Dust 2 skyrocketed, not just on public servers, but in clan matches as well. Dust 24/7 servers sprang up everywhere, and from there it had several iterations over the many incarnations of Counter-Strike until in 2016 we arrived with the beautifully polished map that we have today. Dust 2, in terms of balance, timing, just about everything, is almost perfect. It hardly gets boring. It just plays well, it looks well, and in general, it's just one of the best maps of all time. And such was one of the most popular maps of all time, birthed in such a small way. Small ideas lead to big, frustrating online arguments.
Your mom is so fucking bitch, man.
Thank you for watching, and as always, please check out, the fucking deal. See you in the next video. Pew!